You're listening to Inside Commerce, a weekly e-commerce strategy, technology and CX-focused podcast hosted by experienced digital consultants and re-platform specialists James Gedd and Paul Rogers. Get insights into e-commerce strategy and leading brands, hear from industry thought leaders and leading tech vendors with practical advice to help you improve your online CX. This podcast is sponsored by Shopify. It's our last podcast of 2025, how the year has flown, hot off the heels of our previous one, which was around state of the industry. We're now going to look at trend predictions for 2026. So I think Paul's challenged me a few times where we should nail our colours to the mast, predict what we think is going to happen, what's going to be big, and then we can look back at the end of the year and work out whether we were talking complete bollocks or not. So the areas that I'm going to pick out are things about point of purchase evolving, beyond just websites, the broader remit of SEO and AEO, tech, agentic, paid media, which I'll defer to you more on, Paul, because you've got a strong handle on it. One thing I'm seeing great use of tactical middleware, and all will become clear when I talk about that later. Testing of non-standard markets across border, and then a few other things around like automations, etc. So let's get cracking. Do you want to just give a just very quick, what do you think the like general market performance and trading view will be like in 2026? Is it going to be very similar to 2025? Are we still going to be struggling with the impact of tariffs, disposable incomes impacting people's spending power and the reliance on discount, all those things that retailers have struggled with in 2025?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, I think I'm pretty positive with this peak trading period. I think coming off the back of that, I think going into the start of next year, it feels like, and a lot of our clients, prepping for big sale periods, which are typically like kind of nowadays Christmas Eve into January, which are usually pretty performant. I think off the back of a pretty solid Black Friday core period or Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I'm hoping that'll be pretty positive. I think that there's a lot of question marks around the US, and some people are saying they'll go into recession. And I think when the US does perform badly for our clients, there seems to be a bit of a one. I think that's where you get a lot of uncertainty in client businesses. So we were going to touch on it in the last episode, but I didn't end up talking about it. But I think the other trend off the back of the tariffs is the immediate response to clients, even maybe weren't that impacted, was like, we need to de-risk, we need to stop unnecessary expenditure, we need to be thinking about reducing OPEX, etc. So I feel like there's risk of that from a US perspective, and maybe some impacts on that. But I feel like, overall, I feel like the trend has been fairly positive this year, maybe more positive than we thought it was. So I feel like I'm fairly optimistic. It's just that question mark over the US, which for a lot of our clients is like something they have to be seen to, like growing at a certain level, or, be able to demonstrate an ability to like scale that market to then go on to raise more money, or be seen as progress to the board. That would be my view on it, I think.
Yeah, I think where I see the potential ongoing challenges are in some of the verticals on like homewares and furniture, where there is a big element for, the more mid to premium market, where I call them aspirational purchase, people who aren't buying these items all the time. They're investments for like if they move home, or it's we want to get a really nice sofa and it's like a treat purchase. But actually, given the fact that there's still challenges around people's disposable incomes and financial pressures, that part of the market shrinks. So I think some verticals are still going to find it tough trading to get, not that they're going to drop down minus, but to get that to double digit growth is going to be very, very challenging on a regular basis. It's that continued global volatility. It's nobody knows where it's going to end up. So I think you're right. I think there's some positive indicators, and there are certainly some indicators of protect the UK of the fact that there's no expectation for like interest rates suddenly to go up massively, which will have a massive impact on people's disposable income, because anyone with debt suddenly has got less money. There feels like there's a bit more stability around price inflation. So hopefully it will be all right. But I guess my outlook is okay, but not massively positive. I'm not back to like post-pandemic levels of enthusiasm on the economic front. Let's get into some of the predictions. So I'll put out a prediction. You can either riff on it or add your own prediction on next to that. So mine is that the point of purchase evolution beyond websites is going to continue. So we talked in the previous one about LLMs like ChatGPT in terms of traffic, but actually that move into them introducing instant checkouts and enabling certain types of purchases to be made there, it's going to increase. I don't expect it to suddenly take over e-com at all. But then you've got other vendors like PayPal who launched direct purchase from ads with storefront ads to help on publisher sites to put the point of purchase there rather than on an e-com site. So you've got Stripe with one-click checkout, product link. Apparently it's got 200 million users worldwide. You've got vendors like Commerce Layer who are introducing through their composable stack like micro product pages, which can be built and with payment embedded onto it without having to have like a full e-com platform and website behind it to help people who want to sell products but don't have the capability or don't have the resource or money to build out a full site. So I think you've got all these things going on where they are changing the point of purchase, and it will be small fry compared with where the majority of purchases are happening. But I can definitely think that is going to increase percentage of sales next year.
What do Mattel, Victoria Beckham, Sennheiser, and Glossier all have in common? They power their businesses with Shopify. Shopify is the most innovative and scaled commerce platform on the planet. It also happens to have the best converting checkout on the planet. Shopify, powering the future of enterprise commerce. Find out more at shopify.com/enterprise.
Yeah, so I think I completely agree. I feel like it's potentially exaggerated a bit in the industry. So you see a lot of people, and I think I talked about it a lot, that Shopify been in this crazy dominant position where, they're the only one, winning any level of volume. And they haven't, in my opinion, they haven't really had any competition outside of some niches like people like Centra and a few others. I think the ChatGPT Stripe or the OpenAI Stripe announcement was quite an interesting one, in that I think there were a lot of rumors that would be Shopify. So I feel like it's the first bit of, not pressure on Shopify, but it's certainly I'm sure it's something that Shopify are very aware of. And I feel like it's something that, it's potentially been exaggerated a lot in the industry. Like people are saying the website will die. I don't think the website will die. I think the way that websites are managed, served, designed will adapt around changing consumer behavior and sources of traffic. But I feel like, to be honest, that's something that probably has needed to happen for a long time. And you look at even the way that people put so much money into their creative from a top of funnel marketing perspective, and then zero consideration into that experience once someone who's come onto the site having not known the brand before. I feel like that's something we're seeing anyway. So I feel like in terms of predictions, I agree that I think there'll be more agentic purchasing, but I don't think it will grow at the same rate that a lot of people are saying. And I feel like a lot of people double down on the experience or building experiences based on where the traffic's coming from, and also investing in brand and art direction and everything else. I think the thing that I'm intrigued by, so I think that, so I've got a few here. So I think Meta are currently very dominant in brand advertising and mid and top of funnel advertising. And I feel like they will do something in this space. And I don't know what that looks like yet, but I feel like, there's a world where they will react to other people building inline checkout. And I feel like they will try to play on the kind of AI journeys they've already built inside of Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. And I feel like I think people don't talk enough about Meta when they're talking about OpenAI and Google, and people forget that a lot of brand discovery happens via Meta and TikTok. So I think I don't really have a prediction on what, but I feel like people are underestimating them. And I think that, and this is probably the only big prediction that I'm going to make, So I think Google will have a better 2026 for AI product discovery than ChatGPT. And I think that ChatGPT will launch their first iteration of ads or affiliates in the platform. And I think alongside that, they'll do analytics. And that's solely based on just reading about job ads that are out and reacting to competition, I think. Yeah. And I think they'll continue to make lots of very interesting acquisitions.
I'm interested. So yeah, the affiliate bit, I 100% think is going to happen. I think that will be the commercial model. It makes absolute sense for a commission based for purchases. Ads, I'll be interesting. So I'll be interested because the UI piece on it and the targeting. Being you're better place to have you than me. Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see that. But linked to that, the next prediction I've got is basically that the SEO skill set continues to broaden and more SEOs have a blend of SEO and AEO, like agentic, engine, optimize, whatever you want to call it, whatever acronym you want to stick to. Because at the moment, you've got some really vocal people in the SEO space, including like Sam from Novos, who we both know well, and he works with clients, both of ours, who is offering a lot of really good practical advice. He came on the pod. But there are lots of other people in the SEO world who aren't yet, I guess, skilled in understanding the technical implications of the AI, the agentic, the LLM side, and what that means and how they need to diversify the SEO service. And I just fully see that agencies are going to double down and lean into this way more because they have to, basically. And it becomes a standardized service rather than you're doing SEO and, oh, look, you also now need to consider it. So it's not. It's fundamentally just they're all different search engines, essentially.
I think, to be honest, I think this has like reignited the SEO industry because I feel like, particularly in commerce, it feels like the SEO world got a bit stale and, Google's algorithm had got so strong and the impressions, search ads and shopping were just, it become like so dominant in the results pages and the value of organic had probably, and don't get me wrong, it's still a really important channel. And also, I think the ability to drive significant volume as a brand is like harder now. I think it's very hard to get a high proportion of your demand coming from organic that is non-brand as a brand. And I think Google's flipped they've essentially changed the playing field so that there's a ceiling with organic. And now I think this is like a whole new channel for them. It's like a whole new way of valuing digital PR. It's or like citation management or whatever it is, and a whole new level of importance around how you're structuring your data and building, your results in different ways or content in different ways. So yeah, I completely agree. I think the only thing that I don't like about this area is that every single person, or like such a high proportion of the industry, are offering services around this. And right now it's a real unknown. Like, it's not, you can't really prove impact. If you're going and spending $100,000 in this area, you can't really say definitively, this is the exact impact. This is like, what we've influenced and this is the incremental uplift. And also, it's just so, I feel like there's so many people that are experts in this and have spent such high proportions of their time understanding it. And then you've got, development agencies that have just been like, we're going to offer this service. So yeah, I think it'll be a big industry. It'll be a big level of spend. It already is. People are investing in this. I just think it'll change and it'll get more sophisticated and it'll get more measurable. So yeah, it'll just get deeper. But I completely agree. I think it's like a SEO, a lot more of a high priority for so many people, and the skills that you have to have in that industry are suddenly, more valuable.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully it will shine a light back on the really smart technical SEOs out there, of which there are many, that the understanding of what impacts indexation, but also their understanding, because it's not the content SEOs, and I'm not putting people who are very strong with content for SEO are very worth their weight in gold as well. But it's understanding technically the API capabilities that platforms that house the content that is being pulled in by these agents and LLMs. It's understanding that and understanding what data can be created that the APIs can surface. It's that element which I think is missing in some people, and then blending that with the advice on content usefulness. What content do you need to build out on like a PDP? Like, what's the role of Q&A? The structured data, the deeper attributes and those values. And so there's an interplay between the on-page content and the pure technical side of it, which is where technical SEOs and agencies which have that blend of skills will add weight in gold. Next one for me, this is just one that I've been noticing and I really think is going to happen more, is greater use of tactical middleware. So where I'm coming out on this is I think a lot of people are used to the fact that iPaaS is an established part of the tech stack in ecom. So you have an ecom platform, you have an ERP, a WMS, and there is an iPaaS middleware that sits in between that orchestrates data flows for customers, orders, returns, refunds, you name it, stock, inventory updates. So a Patchworks, a High Cohesion, a Jitterbit, a Celigo. But what those come with is obviously heavier engineering, more setup time, contracts, usage fees, etc. What I'm seeing more now is where developers and agencies are solving specific challenges in projects with third-party apps like an Airtable, Superbase, to do a very tactical solution for a particular challenge where they don't want to have to look at using an existing iPaaS because it's not really going to fit so well in the model, and they don't want to add another custom middleware, so they'll use an existing one but build out the functionality. So there's a couple, one of my clients, Lily's Kitchen, is using a custom process for pet feeding guidelines. There's another use case working at the moment, which is on Superbase, where it is for taking gift card balances on a third-party gift card in a Shopify checkout, checking the balance and then converting that into a Shopify gift card so that the balance can be redeemed in the checkout, to avoid what was going to be a really, really complex integration with a third party that didn't have the right API. So I'm seeing quite a few of these cropping up, and I know there's a lot of people I know your clients have been using Airtable quite a bit, haven't you? And this overall I think it simplifies the development and it keeps license fee costs down.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see the no-code, low-code world and some of the solutions in that space next year. Because to be honest, there's been so much. I mean, I think I completely agree. Like, loads of our clients are investing in solutions like Heiko and try to do some of that stuff properly. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see where solutions like Nathan get to next year, because I'm really starting to see those kind of internal technical people build like really cool stuff with that, and starting to combine with Shopify Flow and like other kind of API first automation platforms. And I think that's going to be a really interesting area of the industry. Airtable as well, I've seen a lot more usage. I think the other thing that I was going to mention, just because I'm conscious that we're getting near the end and I've accidentally missed this area, but I wanted to touch on Shopify, which I'm sure you were expecting. But I wanted to talk about my predictions for them. So I think that they will go I can't imagine a world where they do not have behind the scenes like a shed load more AI capability. So I think they will launch their first agentic functionality within the platform. So, and we talked in the last episode around like their partnership with Liquid AI and how they might use that data and eventually or very soon have the ability to say, blah, 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 findings, go and implement these changes to merchandising rules, or go and introduce these promotions, or go and do whatever. And I think we'll start to see a level of that. I also think that they will push Sidekick hard this year. So in the industry, I've seen some really good product where essentially, and this is kind of weird trying to work on the equivalent, but you've essentially got a load of structured data set somewhere, and then you connect into Claude and you essentially build an agentic analyst. And then the next step to that is you start implementing. So we've already seen Sidekick start to do some of that analysis, and I feel like they're going to introduce a lot more capability within there. And so that's one thing.
On Sidekick, they need to, because Sidekick is useful, but it has so many limitations. For example, you can't go into it and ask it to add entries into a meta object. The ability to connect it deeper into data objects within the database and allow you to execute tasks to avoid you having to go and either API it or manually do it. So yeah, there's lots of bits where it's just not quite joined up enough.
So I think all of that will come. I think the analysis will get really good. I think it will have more of like a two-way interface and like kind of dialogue around editing things. So I think that will come. And then the other thing, I think they'll introduce more of the kind of PIM level automation stuff within the platform. And I think it's an interesting time to talk about this because Editions is just around the corner. But I reckon that just based on, I mean, to be honest, if I was Shopify, the thing that they've got that's unique to the world is all that data sat across 3 million live stores. And all of the kind of data around that. And they're probably in the best position to build out more of a kind of agentic OS within their platform. And I think Toby's talked a bit around like long term, like being able to manage an entire store via prompts. And I feel like they'll want to lead this because I'm quite surprised they've not moved faster already, given that some of the development in other areas and other industries.
I think the reason for that will be because if you move too fast and get it wrong, the damage is massive. So no one else is going to get there probably as quick given the R&D pockets they got. No, I agree. Exactly where I expected, like Sidekick, for example, to expand to would be then to have agentic commands within it that will allow you to execute. So a set of common tasks, but then also your ability to then build your own, I guess, commands by connecting different conditions to execute. And then also the connectivity with the ecosystem. So the ability I want to do something that has an impact in this app, and I want to do something which has an impact in this part of Shopify. It's that connectivity. Okay, so I got two more small ones before we head off. So number one is I think local delivery, food delivery networks are going to increasingly collab with retailers to offer local shipping options for subsets of products, and makes perfect sense. Customers, I mean, there's enough research out about customers are willing to pay a premium for convenience, speed of delivery. You've had Uber and John Lewis big collab recently, and it's targeted product sets for specific regions based on shopper buying profiles. I expect that to continue. It's never going to be everything to everyone. That just is not feasible. But where you've got a big retailer with lots of different distribution hubs where they can get stuff to the local pickups quickly, that makes sense for same day delivery. And then the second one is, I'm hoping we're going to see retailers test a few more non-standard markets for cross-border expansion, because I think there's typical routes. Like UK retail, you build out in Europe main markets. You got the US, main Asian markets like China. You got the Middle East, but there are lots of fast-growing e-com markets growing off a smaller base. But actually, e-com growth is really explosive, and there's less competition. It's places like Vietnam, for example, about 26% growth, and the audience is very young, internet focused, mobile first. So the adoption rates can be quite high. So I think there are some interesting opportunities in Asia, Latin America. We might see a little bit more investigation from e-com retailers.
I think that's a really interesting one, because I feel like, as you said earlier, I don't know if it was this episode or the last one, you said about the impact of the tariffs was everyone started diversifying and de-risking and looking at other markets. Definitely a trend we saw. I think the only interesting thing is I feel like the way that people tend to look at those markets is like level of opportunity, like kind of size of the market versus ease of like reaching customers and like level of localization needed in like creative, like kind of everything else. So like, I mean, the Middle East has been a big one for our customers over the last couple of years, but actually it is like, there's a whole different strategy needed for influencers and creative and everything else. And I feel like a lot of our clients kind of get to here and then they don't kind of go to that next level because it's like maybe a disproportionate level of effort, compared to the size of the market versus Germany or whatever. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting one. I think, as you also said, I think in this episode, like the effort to go cross-border and facilitate the demand from a site and transaction perspective now is so, the barriers are so low. So I feel like, yeah, that will just continue to be a big trend for a lot of brands. And I feel like there'll be a lot more kind of, POC kind of testing of marketing in different regions. The other thing we haven't talked about is the ease of localization. I think that will continue to get a lot better in terms of like local copy, local customer service management, local CRM, etc. So yeah, I think that'd be another one.
Yeah, I think that's where I was coming from. It's tactical proof of concept testing rather than full launch. So it could be, enabling shipping to that market with tactical paid media to gauge demand and interest in the brand as step one. Step two could be then creating a localized site, but no physical presence in market. So it's that graduated expansion where you can start to tap in and, So, well, let's see. Those are our main predictions. So feel free to call us mental and crazy for what we're predicting, but we'll come back next year and we'll see how they're getting on. Also, please do let us know, what are your big predictions in ecom for 2026 and why? Do let us know. We'd love to hear. You're listening to the Inside Commerce podcast hosted by experienced consultants James Gerd and Paul Rogers. Inside Commerce is your fast track to digital knowledge, featuring interviews with leading e-commerce retailers, industry thought leaders, and the C-suite of key tech companies to explore the latest in digital strategy, customer experience, and tech. Discover what the latest trends really mean and get practical advice based on experience to help fine-tune your e-com strategy and tech stack. Follow us on LinkedIn and reach out to James or Paul if you'd like to discuss an e-commerce project. We hope you enjoy the latest episode.